So tonight we have a very special multi-tool, and this one is loved and hated. So some people consider this like broccoli. Some people hate broccoli. It's one of my wife's favorite foods, rather. But some people really hate this tool, and most people that I've run across actually love it. But there's a reason why people hate it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, this came out in 2005 along with the Leatherman Surge. And then it disappeared in 2009 after it was updated to the Super Tool 300. So let's go ahead and explore the features right here. So what we have right here on the end is, again, a very nice set of pliers. We do have just the normal wire cutters. We do have a crimper at the bottom. And with Leatherman's issues right now with their wire cutters, probably some people are really wishing Leatherman would go back to this style. So we've got, again, great set of pliers right there. We've got ruler markings, metric and inches on each side. And when we bring this closed, again, this comes in around that 4.5 inch frame size. So very cool tool. And we do have the more modern unlocking levers right here on the outside as well. Then it is a fairly comfortable tool with all the nice rounded edges as well. And then when we open it, it's not too bad as well because they have these edges nicely polished as well. So fairly comfortable to use. Now let's go ahead and look at these features. And Leatherman really didn't change too much about these tools over the years. A lot of the things they would cover would change, rather, was a locking mechanism. So especially like the Super Tool 300 compared to this. What we have right here is a really nice knife right here, just the plain edge blade. And then what I like about this right here is the very thick screwdriver blade. Now this comes in very handy. Sometimes in HVAC when I'm working, there's some very large adjustment screws, and I find it almost impossible to find 1/4 inch bits that are that wide. So if I have a multi-tool like this on me, I really enjoy using that screwdriver. And this is a fairly good size as well. Then we've got the awl, then a really nice long file. So what we see in more modern tools is the tendency to put on these tiny, tiny little files that become more like nail files. But this right here is probably how, at least on a working tool, the file should actually be. And then you do have this lanyard attachment place right here. So pretty cool tool set on that side. Then on the other side, we have I guess I would call this, again, a proper wood saw right here. Seems to be appropriate length. Again, a lot longer than most of the times you find on a multi-tool. And then you have this smaller screwdriver blade, and then look at that Phillips screwdriver. So just a fantastic. And then if you put an adapter on here, I mean, look how long that screwdriver is. Now this isn't the right adapter. There we go. So you really have a long screwdriver point right there. Pretty cool. And then we have the can opener. And then I do like this wire stripping notch, that V notch, better than Leatherman's latest, more rounded notch. So I do like that older style better as well. And then very nice, again, serrated blade. So just a great tool complement on this. And again, it's really so good that it's lasted for years and years. Leatherman has kept a lot of things the same. So let's go ahead, pull this all out again, compare it to the Super Tool 300, and then we'll get into some of the negatives of the core and some of the great positives as well. All right, so when we compare this to the Super Tool 300, we notice, again, we've got the same tool set essentially. We've got the serrated blade. It looks like the end of the blade changes shape a little bit. And then we do have the saw. Actually, I was comparing it to the saw. So the serrated blade basically stays the same. Phillips screwdriver, looks like the can opener as well. But the smaller screwdriver does look perhaps a tiny bit different. And let's see. I think I might have, there we go. We've got the small screwdriver, and actually, come to think of it, they look almost identical. So I think most everything stayed the same. And then we have the file, and then we've got the knife. And again, everything looks basically identical on the other side as well. So most of the inside tools remain pretty much the same. I really can't find much differences at all from the, again, Super Tool 300 to the Leatherman core. But there is a big difference when you talk about pliers. So the frame size may have stayed the same, but not only did the frame change, but the set of pliers changed as well. So you can see that the upgraded Super Tool definitely has a more beefier look on it. It's not as precise. It comes to more of a blunt tip. And I think some people will bemoan that fact and really miss the old core plier head. Again, these get replaceable wire cutters. And again, with the current situation at Leatherman, that's not necessarily a plus. But what we also notice is when we look at the frame, the Super Tool 300 slopes inward to accept this small plier head, where the core actually stays the same width all the way to the end. And that is a huge bonus for me because I plan to be doing something special with this tool, and we'll see what happens in a year or two. Maybe I can share it with you. But with the core, they do have these, I think it's called Zytel inserts. And a lot of us nomads, or whatever you call us, illiterate people, I guess, I got in trouble because I called these plastic. So they are fancier than plastic, but when you look at them, they do feel like plastic. And a lot of people had the impression Leatherman is just throwing plastic in their tools. And I have read some irate comments about the Leatherman core. That's the junkiest Leatherman out there. Leatherman's going downhill. This is the end of Leatherman. And so Leatherman went back to just metal, and I think that made a lot of people feel a lot better. But I really like the idea right here because this opens the plier head, the handles rather. It gives them the ability to accept a lot thicker and beefier plier heads. So I think this is something that Leatherman could have exploited and made a super, they call this a super tool, but they could have made a fantastic tool. They could have made a monster plier head, which would have been really neat, but unfortunately they didn't. But maybe I can rectify that in the future. So the Leatherman core, again, has some really unique aspects to it. It's a little different. And when you look at this tool, again, it has those inserts right here that go all the way down on each side as well. So really unique design, and it's fascinating to see how Leatherman has evolved over the years. And I think the core is amazing. I might buy another one actually, but the Super Tool 300, I can understand why people love it, but I definitely think the core has its place. And I just wish that Leatherman would have run with this design and made something fantastic. But we'll see what Leatherman has in the future. Let me know your thoughts. Is the core for you, or are you very glad that the Leatherman Super Tool 300 came into being?